Let us now introduce contestant number 6, Mr. Hubert Cruz. The title of his speech is Aliens. You now have 3 minutes. You may begin after the bell rings.
Imagine that you're in Area 51 of the United States aliens, and that you experience an encounter of the third kind. There looms one question. What's next? Think about it and ask yourselves, do you want to keep such revolutionary information to yourself where humanity will be unable to make use of it? Or do you want to risk sparking civil panic, a backlash that could lead to unrest or even death? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm no conspirator, nor am I here to talk about abductions. Today I'm here to explore the conflict between confidentiality and public interest. From WikiLeaks to the news of the world, from our recent chief executive debate, even to the possibility of a visit by little green men, this issue continues to challenge us all. Obviously, security codes for nuclear arsenals are by no means a public issue. On the other hand, to quote Pierre Trudeau of Canada, neither does the state have any business in the bedrooms of the nation. Challenges lie in moral gray areas, scenarios where things are not so clear. I respect the importance of media freedom. The exposure of events such as Watergate and the atrocities committed in Abu Ghraib were great victories for peace. Yet the consequences of crossing the line and abusing either public interest or confidentiality are dire. In 2008, the Indian media unwittingly aided the terrorists of the Mumbai hotel bombing by showing coverage of the police assembling to capture them. 32 hostages died in this abuse of the public's right to know. Furthermore, we must never forget those whose lives are destroyed after being dragged through the mud of media exposure. I speak of men like Tyler Clementi, who shot himself after being outed as homosexual without his consent. I speak of youngsters like Japanese singer Yukiko Okada, who could not take the pressure of being in the spotlight. She committed suicide in 1986. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot pick or sacrifice any of the two. My speech simply aims to remind all of you the dangers of abusing either public interest or confidentiality. It is in remembrance of the tragedies of the past that I call for careful considerations, for decisions to be made both rationally and thoughtfully. It is my hope that when the aliens do come, we would have learned to consider the consequences before we act. Ladies and gentlemen, think about it. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech. Mr. Lynch will now ask you a question related to your speech. The bell will ring and the timekeeper will raise the start card right after the question has been asked, and you will have 1 minute to respond. Mr. Lynch, please.
Thank you. In Hong Kong, in public areas, you will find surveillance cameras all around. Do you think these are a necessary security measure, or are they an invasion of privacy?
Ladies and gentlemen, I think on first hand that these surveillance systems are in fact an objective, a very valuable function towards our national security, because we've seen in the proof in many cases that these surveillance cameras actually help us to solve crimes and bring criminals to justice. So on one hand, these surveillance systems can actually preserve the well-being of society. Yet on the other hand, we should also focus on the point that citizens only expect a reasonable degree of privacy when they're in the public. They cannot be surveillanced in an absolute manner that every bit of their tiny actions gets surveillanced. So, ladies and gentlemen, we need to bear in mind that these surveillance systems do help, but they cannot go too extreme in the sense that they harm the privacy of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. A second question will now be asked by Mr. McLavin. Again, the bell will ring and the timekeeper will raise the start card right after the question, and you may then respond. Mr. McLavin, please.
Thank you. There are many free newspapers today in Hong Kong. They usually contain a lot of advertisements but have little quality or in-depth news coverage. Do you think free newspapers do more good or more harm to people?
Ladies and gentlemen, I think these free newspapers are no good to our young people and to society. First and foremost, if we take a look at these free newspapers, there are not enough content, not enough accurate report of different incidents in our world. we see many of them are very similar to tabloid newspapers and tabloid magazines, which most of them focus on gossips and focus on issues that doesn't raise the awareness, doesn't raise the well-being of our young people. In addition to that, if we take a look at how these free newspapers are actually evicting the paid newspapers, which produce better quality of press, better quality of news. So ladies and gentlemen, we see these newspapers, they do not report good stuff. On the other hand, they're evicting those who are doing good things. I think these free newspapers are no good to our teenagers. Thank you.
Thank you. Please take a seat. Please remain silent while our judges